Yeah, thank you, Tim. And before I go to the first slide, just a bit of background. CipherPoint was previously a listed entity called Cavada, which was in the software game. It actually produced software for securely storing information, particularly for government customers, and it had another product that operated for securing enterprises, particularly in their content management systems. Over the last 2 years, we've repurposed this listed entity to CipherPoint, sold the software business, and now focused on what we call managed security services. But let me give you a quick overview of the business, and then hopefully in plain English and language, explain what we actually do. So next slide, please. So basically some basic corporate overview data where the ticker is CPT. We're sitting with 2.6 million of cash as at March 31, the end of the quarter. Our financial year is actually March 31 end financial year. So we're an ASX listed managed cybersecurity services company. So what does that mean? It basically means that customers, business and government customers, connect their IT platforms to our security operations centre, and with tools that we've built in that centre, we monitor effectively traffic and activity within their IT network, both inside the organisation, but also outside the organisation. In other words, people that are trying to breach the firewalls to get inside an organisation and perhaps access the companies or the enterprise's data, or to effectively try to achieve ransom by holding that data and downloading it and locking it. And so all of the sorts of things you see in the newspaper that happen where identities are stolen, someone accesses a system, commits some fraud, someone accesses a system and locks up the customer data of a business and so on. These are the sorts of things we actively monitor. So imagine it being like a physical security system where people are entering the building. This is a monitoring service that effectively sees people electronically performing activities which are unauthorized, trying to get in, knocking on your virtual door. So our approach is to provide innovative solutions in that area, and to as I said, enterprise and government. Having said that, and I'll come on to this later, we are expanding to look at the SMB market because it's the most underserved in the cybersecurity environment. I'll explain why shortly. We have two businesses that we've acquired in CipherPoint after we exited the software game. They are Brace 168, which is based in Sydney, and VIT Cybersecurity Services, that's based in Tasmania. And both businesses were acquired in the last 18 months, and they will form part of, or now form part of, our managed security business. If I go to the next slide and just talk briefly about the financials and market position, we've got a solid revenue base, but more importantly, 60% of our revenues are recurring. In other words, they're not one-off revenues where we're doing some securities consulting to a board or to an organisation. They're not one-off revenues in that 60% that are doing penetration testing to see how strong or weak your security posture is. It's 60% is largely this recurring revenue, which is about actively in real time monitoring activities, security related activities within your business. Having acquired the two businesses, Brace and also VIT Services, we did make a conscious decision to deploy shareholder funds in building additional capacity during the FY22, which was for us is the year through to March this year, so that coming into FY23 from this quarter onwards, that we are positioned for growth. And that meant putting some new facilities, extending our SOC, adding sales resources into the business, and doing so in a market where those resources are very tight. One of the interesting things about the business, and that is, should a similar business ever acquire us, we have on our balance sheet, we have carried forward tax losses in excess of 40 million, largely related to the prior cyber activities of the company. On a comparative basis, revenue has been increasing quarter on quarter. The March quarter has been typically a seasonally lower quarter coming out of Christmas. But having said that, we have said in our 4C, our cash statement lodged with the market last night, that the board believes that we should be doing better on our sales cadence, and we're taking active steps to improve and hold more accountability around sales targets, because we believe the cyber market is growing, and it's growing rapidly, and we should be able to grow in line with that growth in the overall market. We trade at a very big discount to other listed peers, and the tickers are shown on the screen there. So we're trading less than 2 times revenues, trailing revenues. The average of that market is around 8.4, and that's largely off the back of the sentiment around cybersecurity activity. Our Q4 results, we had record customer receipts. The revenues weren't as high as we'd like them to be, but the customer receipts were strong, and largely that's because a lot of our customers, particularly some of the government agencies, pay us 12 months in advance. So from a customer receipt perspective, we don't have any debt. We have cash at bank, and we're able to bill a number of our customers upfront or on a monthly basis. So the focus of the board, to be realistic about us, and is that we believe we have a very strong core platform that we can grow this business, but we need to put more focus on our sales performance and reducing other corporate overhead, which is always a challenge, frankly, for small or micro cap stocks, because of the rigours required and the expense required to support a listed structure. Next page, please. So Brace, which is one of our business, was established only in 2017, and it provides, as I've said, a managed detection and response. So we not only detect inappropriate activity, but we have a platform that raises the alerts, and we can create responses where we or our customers actually remedy the issues or the vulnerabilities in their networks. And we acquired that in March of 21. We also acquired VITCS in Tasmania. It provides similar solutions and to agencies of the Tasmanian government and enterprise customers, and that was acquired in November. The customers actually spanned quite a wide range of sectors: financial, property, manufacturing, health, and so on. Some of the logos are shown on the screen, but I need to mention that some companies do not even like to disclose which organisations are providing their cybersecurity services, for the obvious reason that they don't want that to be another point of vulnerability, or to, I think, make their customers and shareholders nervous. So we disclose what we're able to disclose in terms of customer base, and this is always an interesting tussle with the ASX. As we've said to the ASX before, I don't think you want to disclose your security posture, so it's consistent that many other customers don't want to do it. But we have shown that we can support large organisations and support them and win against our competition in the marketplace. Our competition largely consists of companies, listed companies like Tesseract, their ticker is TNT, or a multitude of smaller unlisted entities out there that provide some sort of IT and securities, digital security services. Next slide, please. So what sort of market are we in? Well, look, we're in a growing market, and I always hesitate to put up slides that talk about, in billions of dollars, the cybersecurity spend, because that consists of consulting services, some software product, and so on. We like to basically say, look, we're in a very big market. It's a big bucket of revenue to pursue, a big opportunity, but we still have to execute sale by sale to secure our part of that growth. So we had 3 phases of growth when we shifted from being a software company to a services business. The first one was to acquire the other businesses and grow them organically, which we're doing. Secondly is to scale up with investments in more sales personnel, with investments in our security operations centre, but also at the same time reduce our costs. And that's what we're doing at the moment. And then the third phase is move quickly to positive cash flow and therefore profitability. One of the interesting challenges here is we think there's a massive opportunity in the small to medium enterprise sector in Australia. And from my time at 3 other very large organisations, I've seen it. And so we are now building a set of solutions for the SMB market, which could be as little as $100 a month, up to $1,500 a month. So you will see those launch in due course. Next slide. This is a little bit more data about the marketplace and you see the normal usual suspects that we compete against. Obviously the existing telephone carriers and consulting firms, and then Tesserent, which is TNT, and CyberCX, which is another privately held PE-backed organisation. We kind of see ourselves as more pure in terms of the managed service operations, and we focus around automating a lot of this, creating operational resilience and providing the reporting that our customers need to give to their boards. And the final slide, if I might, is to, and I don't want to go into detail here, but it just shows you the numbers, the types of services we apply across the marketplace, and also where we sit in terms of partnering. And we do have a number of channel partners to go to market. So in summary, 3 points. Business has been repurposed. It is intensely focused on security managed services, recurring revenue, and also growing from a relatively small base. Thanks, Tim. I think that's the presentation for me, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Ted. I don't think there's a consumer in the world that hasn't seen some sort of cyber threat of one form or another, particularly most recently. You spoke about the SMEs, I believe. Can you talk about who this ideal client is for you?
Well, I think it's traditionally been governments and larger corporations, but there's never a day goes by when you're not getting stories of the local real estate agent or which has had their tenancy data stolen and can't issue the reports to the landlords, or the local any form of small business that's had the computers locked up and can't access their accounting data or customer data. This happens all the time. The challenge for those organisations is they don't have IT departments. They don't have anything else. They actually they need to be able to subscribe to a service that eliminates, frankly, say 80% of the major threats. And depending on the size of those organisations, our estimate is that in addition to the bigger money that enterprises can spend, you could probably start between $100 a month for providing basic protection, so that we reduce their threat profile or the threat landscape for them, up to say $1,500 a month for a medium enterprise. Now, if we can nail that, and that's the bulk of Australian business, by the way. So in Australia, you've got basically 100 large companies that matter, followed by about 3,500 medium enterprises. And then the rest is 1.2 million small businesses. And everybody tries to target the top end. And we've got clients in that end. But the real replicable service where you can onboard people automatically and you could automate the process is around the SME market. That's what we're after.
And what's the sales process look like in regards to those smaller SMEs?
The product has to be largely digital marketing, right? And online onboarding, right? We don't need to train them because we're seeking to be effectively the outsourced IT and security provider. We just effectively connect their platforms to ours, and then we provide them advice when we see the activity coming in and help them repair any holes, as it were. And, typically, even simple things that start to create vulnerabilities are password protection, not taking old employees off the system, not having basic security software installed in their environments. These are all the issues that we can do, but we want to automate that. And when we do that, the onboarding process and the sales process could be digital lead generation, automated onboarding, log your credit card into the system and do it that way. If you're doing it in the enterprise and government market, the sales cycle could be 6 to 9 months. And so you just have a smaller specialist team that focuses on that. So we have taken the view as we've acquired this platform that the best thing we can do now is use our platform to attack the bigger market that's at risk, which is the small to medium enterprise market in Australia.
And this question, I think I read this. Is there some government funding in the industry at present?
Yeah, so the government funding is pretty interesting. The federal government has announced incredible amount, billions of dollars of funding into their own agencies, particularly the security agencies, Australia Signals Directorate and so on. But they've also announced around $780 million, I think it was, into supporting organisations that can increase the security posture of businesses in Australia. And certainly the incentives there is the government, part of that is the government is paying for training in security issues. So we do some of that today where we've been approached by RTOs or registered training organisations to provide more of that activity in the cyberspace. And so that's certainly something that, following the government's announcement, we've got to turn our attention to.
And just quickly, we do have to go. Is M&A part of the strategy moving forward?
Yeah, we'd like to. We bought the regional business down in Tasmania, and it was an excellent acquisition. Small, but the guys have proven to be very good at. Now they're part of a slightly larger organisation, more confidence in the local community. We think we'd like to do more of that around Australia, and maybe a little bit more into the IT managed services environment, because in the IT services management environment, you've got other customers that you can cross-sell to. And so one of our partners, for example, Excite IT, has a business roughly the same size as us, and we're cross-selling into each other's markets, which is very helpful.
Great, Ted. Good story in a big industry. So good luck out there, and we'll touch base again in the next 6 months or so.
And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ted.